Welcome back with the review in the papers. Daily Sun. Major headline 2027. Atiku Obi yet to seal pact. Continue negotiation. Leaders fear pro-government elements have infiltrated coalition efforts. PDP, Wike pulls out of peace deal, vows to continue fight for justice within party. Food security threatened as terrorists kill over 900 farmers and displace thousands. Federal government deployed technology in boundary management. IPOB insists on May 30 sit at home, says day not celebration of Igbo Day. Fate of Nigerian medical students from Sudan hangs in balance. Enugu Reps Caucus scores Governor Mba's midterm performance high. What stories do we have in the Sun? I can quickly take this one. So a group of 47 Nigerian medical students who escaped war-torn Sudan in May 2023 are now struggling to register for the Nigerian Medical and Dental Council, that's the MDCN examination, due to document snag. They said the students, many of whom fled or were evacuated by the federal government without exit visas, are currently racing against time to meet the registration deadline with their future careers hanging precariously in the balance. So the students who were enrolled at the Sudan International University, that's SIU, were evacuated to Nigeria during the 2023 conflict in Sudan while in their final year of study. Now, according to the students, with the approval of the National Universities Commission, that's NUC, they were permitted to continue their academic program at Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital, Udut, in Sokoto. According to one of the students, he said, we successfully completed our studies and graduated in 2024, receiving our certificates as students of SIU. And he said they were now currently preparing to sit for the MDCN examinations. However, one of the requirements was presenting a first entry visa and last exit visa from Sudan. Unfortunately, none of us have these documents, as most of our passports remain in Sudan due to the emergency evacuation. So we are respectfully requesting permission to sit for the examinations scheduled for June 2025. So the president of Nigerian Students Association at SIU, Najid Hassan, confirmed that due to the war in Sudan, Nigerian students who were evacuated by the federal government are not able to provide that certification. I think this is a no-brainer. They already know the number of people that were evacuated. They know the situation, their names and everything. I don't think they should insist that they have to present exit, and they understand the situation. They can do a waiver for this particular student and every other person who,
in a few days,
they should. This shouldn't even stress the students so that they can focus on their examinations. I beg.
I have food security threatened as terrorists kill over 900 farmers, displace thousands. The federal government's food security drive is currently being stalled by incessant farmer-herder clashes and renewed insurgency across various agrarian villages in Nigeria. So this report really is just a breakdown of what has happened from late 2023 till 2025. I won't take everything because of time, but just a few of it. It says that at least 922 farmers have been killed from 2023, late 2023 to 2025. In May 25, suspected Islamic militants believed to be Boko Haram or ISWAP have killed at least 23 farmers. Fishermen in Malam Karanti village in Borno. Victims were gathered, executed, with only an elderly man who was spared to, go back to the community to take over the story. They said there's been a surge in rural violence, which led to over 150 deaths and thousands displaced. These attacks were attributed to conflicts between nomadic herders and sedentary farmers, which is exacerbated by climate change and the influx of arms. They talk about also these terrorists that have demanded nearly 3 billion naira in levies from communities, and so on and so forth. So the reason why this report is important is how this affects food security in our country. And then we have someone here who, a member of the who is the president of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Afan Kabir Ibrahim. He says this development has led to a frightening dip in food production. Many farmers are scared to venture into their farms as they fear for being killed or kidnapped for ransom. He says it has become like a war zone, one bomb after another. I don't know where this is coming from. He says families are not supposed to be killed. If people cannot produce optimally, then they cannot expect enough food from them, or even prosperity for that matter. They will not be able to produce even those things like, cash crops. And he's just talking about security. So security is important. And he's also saying that it's very important as well to get data so that we can scientifically determine the volume of losses as regards to farm produce and the number of farmers that have been killed or displaced and how it's affecting food security.
Yeah. Okay, so I have the story of the Northern Muslim group urging Tinubu to pick a VP as chairman. They said the Northern Muslim Advocacy Group has called on President Bola Tinubu to consider choosing a Northern Christian as his running mate for the 2027 presidential election. They said our group has undertaken wider consultations across the northern states with different Islamic organizations in a bid to speak with one voice over the political direction in the APC-led administration. They said the outcome is very encouraging. He emphasized that based on their findings, there was a growing consensus that political equity and fairness demanded a religious balance in the 2027 tickets. He said that we believe the most appropriate step forward is for a Northern Christian to be selected as the vice presidential candidate in 2027. However, they said there's a sharp contrast to that of Borno State APC stakeholders. They have said that the president should retain Vice President Kashim Shettima, a Muslim from Borno State, as his running mate. So they are busy there, having these discussions and everything.
Politics.
But let's see how, please. But I think they should allow everybody to be included.
We have a story. Do we move on?
Yes, I do have a story on boundaries. So there is actually, I didn't even know of this agency. There's a National Boundary Commission, and the DG, Director General, Mr. Adamu Adaji, said this in Abuja yesterday, that they are now entrenching technology in the boundary management, especially use of drone in delineation of international and even local boundaries. He went extensively to say that it seems like they've gotten more budget, because all ministries, we have many ministries that they are just paying salaries, but because he kept appreciating the renewed hope agenda of the president, and how with this renewed hope agenda they are going to be able to do a whole lot more, that they are doing a lot of significant data gathering to support the delineation of internal and international boundaries. We've had some international boundary challenges, especially between Nigeria and Benin Republic. And so he said that process was stalled since 2012, but that now they are going to go back to it, and that with the level of capacity they have, they will be able to resolve the stalled international boundary challenge between Nigeria and Benin Republic. I'm waiting to see how this plays out, because we know that many people along the boundaries always feel like they belong to both areas, and we've had many terror attacks that they say these people coming from the other country. So we do need to take advantage of every opportunity to tighten our boundary system better.
Okay, this is likely going to be our last paper for today. Vanguard, anti-Tinubu coalition, Atiku Obi others shop for platform. 21,082 candidates absent, as 99% scored below 200 in rescheduled UTME. Again, that story. An independent judiciary, an essential ingredient in free, fair elections. Neither Buhari nor Jonathan had Nigeria's interest at heart in 2015. Lamido said this one. Federal government turns back 8 foreigners without visas. Crisis, PDP, Wike at loggerheads over agreements. Osun governor poll, we won't align with anyone. This is Arubishola. WAEC NECO release 5 years withheld Zamfara results after government clears debts. Tinubu's mining reforms attract $800 million foreign investment. What do we have in the Vanguard?
NDLEA. Operatives of NDLEA have intercepted no fewer than 6 million pills of opiates. Tamol. I don't know if it's meant to be tramadol or if there's something else called tamol, 225 milligram terpentan. I'm telling you, they're just there everywhere. Carisoprodol. I'm so happy that I don't even know these things. God forbid. Well, as they had 332,000 bottles of codeine-based cough syrup with a combined street value of over 6.5 billion naira at the Port Harcourt Port Complex on air. They said that, they had gotten intelligence, and that's how they were able to follow it. They also talked about this particular consignment that came in. They said it got to the Lagos airport on the Qatar airline flight, but they allowed them to pass through security while closely monitoring them. And the owner of the cargo, Ayedipe Andrew Adejuwon, who is a Nigerian British, was waiting in an SUV alongside a relative, Shona Oluseun, Mole, the driver as well, Ufoma Omokaro Ayobami, they waited to receive the consignment, and once they did, they were swooped on by NDLEA. One person here said, the Alexander, I had to read this over and over again. He confessed that he was recruited during his vacation weeks ago while he was promised 1,300 British pounds. I looked at it again.
Like how
Is
much?
It, yes,
like
it's
it's not worth
1,300
only.
Like, they said they were going to give it to him after a successful delivery of the consignment. Anyway,
Maybe he didn't
it was
negotiate
successfully
very well.
delivered into the hands of NDLEA.
Exactly.
He didn't negotiate very well.
1,300.
Only 1,003. He
Which
didn't
one is negotiate very well?
He didn't. No,
He's
about
happy to be
1,003
alive.
for this
God
stress.
forbid. Do we have any other stories in Vanguard?
Okay, so I have the story of the Lamido and his book. I think this is coming from his book. He said in his assessment of the 2015 presidential election, the ex-governor, that's Alhaji Sule Lamido, he said President Jonathan and Major General Buhari had didn't have Nigerians' best interests at heart when they ruled. He said this in chapter 16, that's pages 4, 16, and 17 in his book.
I have to get the book.
So I think he's trying to promote the book. And he said, I moved to draw the attention of our PDP candidate, President Jonathan, to the realities on the ground. That Mr. President said the election of 2015 is not about Nigeria or political parties, but between two contending people, that's Buhari and Jonathan. And he was saying that neither of you has the overall interest of the country as its ultimate objective, but the aspiration, whoever wins between you and the country will lose. Yes, Nigeria will lose. You know, he's just talking about what happened earlier. And then he said Buhari was not there for Nigeria, that the amalgamation of political interests promoted him. Meanwhile, Jonathan had an agreement that he had undertaken after the President Yar'Adua's death, and that he was just supposed to complete the tenure. He was not supposed to continue after Yar'Adua, but he breached that contract, and it wasn't a nice one.
We
So
have
the
to find
story
this book and
continues.
read. All
Yeah.
these books, we have to just read it because me, I don't get.
Exactly.
Thank you, ladies, for your contributions. That's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, we'll move on to the topics for today. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.